Welcome to Eden Equips, the podcast that shares real stories, practical tools to help parents, carers, educators feel equipped for the journey of raising and supporting neurodivergent children and young people. Whether you are tuning in with a cup of coffee, you're in the car, or you are joining us in a very rare and quiet moment, I am so glad you're here. I'm Rebecca, and today we are joined by Grace. Grace is an incredibly passionate and caring human being, a children's occupational therapist, a mum. Grace has a wealth of experience in all topics. From this, she's created Sensory Submarine, pediatric occupational therapy, kind of focus within that, sensory play, training business, supports children to thrive with a neuroaffirming approach, which we love, a therapy rooted, and everything is backed by science and guided by joy. That is a quote straight from Grace's website, and I love that, Grace.
Thank you.
Backed by science and guided by joy. Love it so much. I mean, what more do you need, really? Grace, so many are familiar with that terminology, occupational therapist or occupational therapy. But for those who aren't, could you share with us what that actually is? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so thanks very much to start with,
You're
Rebecca,
so welcome.
for having
So
me
glad
today.
you're
I'm
here.
delighted. So occupational therapy is basically supporting individuals to do what they need or want to do in life. So getting up in the morning, making a cup of coffee, going to work are all things that we do every day. For the children that I work with, it might look like supporting a child with their handwriting, supporting them to be able to get washed and dressed, supporting them with sleep. And it can be done through things like building gross and fine motor skills, through supporting sensory regulation, and a lot of collaboration with parents and teachers as well to help support their wee needs.
So real focus on like independent skills, isn't it? Like life skills,
really a big function on function.
Yeah,
You know,
like general
literally
function.
general function and what is important to the person. So like I always ask the family, like, what is it that the child wants to be able to do? Because we might have ideas about what we think the child needs to do, wants or needs to do, but it's actually what do they want to do in life, or what is important to the family, what is important to them. So I think that's the big focus of it, really.
What are some of those key things then that you find that children, young people are wanting to be able
come
to
up
do?
a lot.
Yeah.
So the big one is school.
Okay.
So like kids generally want to be able to go to school. They want to be able to interact with their peers. They want to be able to learn. So a lot of our work is around supporting sensory regulation to allow them to be able to attend the classroom, to allow them to be able to learn, and looking at adaptations on the environment as well to make things a wee bit easier for them. The other big one is probably around gross and fine motor skills.
Okay.
So kids want to be able to go to the playground, they want to be able to play,
run around.
they want to be able to run around after their friends, and quite often the little ones that we're seeing have maybe reduced core strength, poor postural stability, so they're not able to do those things as well as some other kids. So supporting them to develop that. And even just everyday things like feeding and eating, you know, being able to have a family meal and engage in that with their family.
So with those like fine and gross motor skills, because there's something that I think a lot of people take for granted and often don't think about supporting their young person with.
Yeah.
How do you then, like, what does that look like how do you support a young person with that? Like in your kind of role, what would you do?
So first of all, we do like a really in-depth assessment. So we will speak to the parent or carer and the teacher beforehand, and we will look at everything, like from the minute the child gets up in the morning to go to bed at night, what their day looks like. We look at the strength in their hands, we look at their motor skills, we look at sensory regulation and their sensory profile and their communication style, and basically get a real good overall picture of what's going on. And then we do like a face-to-face appointment where we're playing with the child. So it's just a play observation really, and we're doing different activities through play just to see where the difficulties are, because sometimes it could be hand strength, it could be dexterity, and following that then we work out like a wee therapy program, so something they can do at home, and then clinic appointments as well.
Yeah, nice.
It's very play based, it's very child led, so I always go with the child's interests. Like we could be doing something around Paw Patrol, Peppa Pig, whatever it is, we go with
all the
flow.
characters.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it's all about invitations to learn as opposed to that you must sit and do this activity to develop this. So I will have stations around the room, and the child can
like leads.
Do what they want, essentially, yeah.
Which we lose a lot of, don't we?
Massively, yeah.
And I think that's something that's a really important conversation, and I think is at the minute in terms of play being challenged a little bit, I think, out there. It's a big conversation, I think, in the parenting world at the minute, in professional world, with schools like cutting play more and more. You know, I'm hearing even like it's local schools. I'm having conversations with people I know of cutting their outside play because they need to focus on the maths and science and literacy and get those things up. Play is such a precious part of our life, and screens taking over play and different things like that. It seems to be something that's deemed by society and education, actually falsely so, that is less and less important. I guess, like, what's your view on that?
Oh, I have strong views on that.
Excellent.
Basically, there's nothing that's taught in a classroom that can't be taught outside.
Yeah.
So
so good.
Totally disagree with that. Having to be in a classroom to do science, maths, literacy. You don't have to be.
Right.
I think we're in a real play crisis, to be honest, at the minute.
Yeah, I hear that, yeah.
Screens have a lot to do with that, and children are on screens from a very young age. Right. I am not opposed to technology in any shape or form.
Right, yeah.
Kids can learn from it, and there's a lot of our children need a certain amount for regulation too.
Yeah.
But it's at the detriment to developing all the skills.
Yeah.
And I think even play literally is the main occupation of a child. Like, that's how they learn. So a child,
main occupation, I like that.
Yeah,
it is, isn't it?
It is. And that's how they develop their fine and gross motor skills. That's how they learn. That's how they regulate. And we're really losing that. And I do feel that that's added a lot to children feeling very dysregulated and feeling very burnt out because they're not outside doing what we were doing when we were younger.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
They're not getting that heavy work and the climbing and the jumping and the
100%
getting into the muck and the mess. And
you know, I saw in a situation recently in a school, just there was a few children. I was there just observing and play. You know, it was break time, and they were like, "Oh, there's no need, you know, to go outside." And I was like, "No, I want to go and see what's happening." And you know, things have been said about playtime's hard and and it can be for a lot of reasons of unstructured and things like that. But I actually witnessed the most beautiful thing where it was autumn time, loads of leaves. Bless the caretaker of the school or whoever it was had organised all these big piles of leaves, and I thought, oh, this isn't going to last long. And actually what was amazing was that you saw this play start to happen with the young people where they weren't just like throwing leaves around, but they were like, how big can we make this pile? Yeah. So they all started working together. They all started playing. There was like roles being delegated out. You know, they were older children. So it was like different roles being taken. Imaginary play started happening. And I remember watching it being like, this is perfect. Like, this is incredible. This is what should happen. And do you know what was the saddest thing? Is how quick it was.
I know.
10 minutes done.
And it was finished.
Line up, time to go. Like, these kids are wolfing down their snack at the same time as doing this, then having to line up and then still trying to finish their snack. And I'm like, oh, they're nowhere near regulated enough to go back inside because their brains have just got to this point, actually. And I just think that was so interesting to like see of like, you saw a glimmer and then it was like, cut.
It is. And like, even through that, Rebecca, they're doing like the problem solving skills, the constructional skills. They're learning how to build. They're learning how to work together as a team. Yeah. And like, that's a perfect example actually of like an invitation to play. That's like very natural. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, just setting out those natural things for kids to play with, and they figure it out themselves. But you're right, they're not been given enough time to do it. It's too short, and then they're actually coming back to the classroom more dysregulated. Yeah. Because, you know, they've become excited, they're working together, and then they don't have that time to come back down again.
Yeah, it's quick, isn't it? And I guess, like, you know, we've talked about why play is important for a young person, but how do I, if I'm listening to this and I am an educator, how do I create more play in my classroom? So say I'm an educator who really cares about this, but unfortunately I am trapped within a system that really, really, you know, creates a lot of difficulty around that. How do I do that as an educator? Like, naturally, how could I do that?
So especially in the early years, like I think, you know, those key stage 1 classes for sure, and nursery school, you can set up play experiences in the classroom, like lots of sensory play, like, you know, whether it's sand or crazy foam or even natural things like leaves on a tough tray.
Okay, cool.
And like think about doing your literacy or numeracy through those. So whether you're adding in wee number blocks or you're adding in their keywords that they need to learn, or just thinking creatively about how you teach really, and building that naturally into the day. play. The other thing in the classroom is the movement aspect of play. So like kids need movement. So like getting them up and maybe do freeze dance for 2 minutes. Like it doesn't have to take a long time.
Right.
Just to allow them that opportunity to play within the classroom. And even thinking about like, can they go outside to do like a nature hunt or something, you know, if they're learning about the world around them. You know, winter or autumn's a perfect time. Do a wee nature hunt. They can tick it off as they go, and you don't have to be outside for long either. But it's just to incorporate those wee things in.
And I think it's what's really interesting, because maybe I'm listening to this and I'm like, yeah, well, you know, Grace, you're seeing specific children, and how do you know? There's 30 kids in my class. But I think this is probably a perfect example of it's useful for all, vital for some. So you're going to have 4 or 5 young people in that class who that is a vital way of learning. It's a vital way of skill development and so on. But surely all kids are going to
Absolutely. And you know, that has been such a focus for me this year, Rebecca, is trying to educate schools around that. Cool. So it's all around like what I teach benefits every child in the classroom. It's not singling those children out, and it's trying to get schools to have a whole class approach to sensory integration and a whole class approach to play and learning. And again, I think that helps as well from an inclusive point of view, so that the young people that we're seeing aren't singled out either. You know, it's...
I go and do your wee movement thing, go and use the sensory trail. You know, it's actually everybody.
All of the classes doing it. Now, there are some kids that are going to need that wee bit more, and that's okay, but if everybody can do it, it's less of a big deal, you know.
And everyone benefits
from it. And everybody benefits.
So I'm a parent or carer listening.
Yeah.
How do I incorporate it in my home? What do I do? Because I don't maybe own 4 tough trays, and, you know, and I don't want to own them, you know. So what do I do in my home?
So the top tip for parents, I would say, is like literally carve out 10 minutes of your time per day to spend focused with your child, whatever they like to do. It doesn't have to be a tough tray. It could be building Lego. It could be reading stories if that's what the child's into. It could be sticking on Spotify and playing, you know, dancing for 10 minutes. But carve out 10 minutes of that like literal quality time where there's no phones, there's no screens, and you're just connected. And honestly, like this is something that we've been doing even as a family since my children were wee. So it works. Like, and there's days I'm exhausted, there's days I'm drained, but it energizes everybody. Like you yourself as a parent or carer will feel happier, you'll feel more energized. The child will feel like they're connected to you and that they're getting that special time, you know. Now it's harder if you have multiple kids. I have 2, and quite often we do the 10 minutes with them together. You know. And that's okay too. Do what works for you or what you can figure out time-wise. But I think that connection is the most important thing. And it doesn't have to be messy sensory play. It can be Lego. Let your child choose. Let them choose.
So that whole child-led, isn't it? And I think that can be quite hard sometimes because that's us letting control go a wee bit. You know, and definitely personality types, mine included, will be the ones who are like, oh, okay, I just have to like
go with
let
this.
You figure it out. You know, like if Play-Doh is your favourite thing, of course we'll get the Play-Doh out, you know. But I think it's also then understanding that it doesn't have to be this huge setup that I've spent hours Pinteresting, I've ordered all these special resources. Actually, what your young person is seeking is this, you know, connection one-on-one with something I enjoy, not something the internet's told me that will be fun.
Absolutely. And like even as a parent, like I struggle with like role play. It's not my thing. I'm like, so my wee girl loves horses and Barbies, and I'm like,
oh, hello, yes,
how do I do this? But I do it. Like that's what she likes. That's what she enjoys. So like you have to kind of get over your own barriers as well.
Yeah, it is. And isn't that so much of like what we look at with like a parenting journey of like what, and I think with teaching too, what you know you then can give, but then it's you also have to learn sometimes too. Since you talked a little bit about there at the beginning, eating, and that's a big part of what you kind of are looking at and supporting young people with. Sensory eating is sensory eaters is a new exciting venture that you and Kirsty have started together. Tell me a little bit about that. What inspired you guys to start that program? What does that look like?
So the Sensory Eaters program, it's an online program, self-paced for parents, and basically myself and Kirsty, she's a dietitian, I'm an OT, we're finding that we were getting a lot of parents coming through with sensory eating difficulties, but you need a real holistic approach to that. So you need more than one professional to support children on that journey, especially the ones with very complex needs.
Right.
So the Sensory Eaters program, we spent 1.5 years working on it. We developed a really
Okay,
comprehensive
so hard.
program.
Yeah.
And it really does go through, like, it's helping parents figure out why their child is experiencing difficulties with feeding and eating, to how to support them. And it's a real step-by-step approach. It's very gentle. It's all play-based because that's what we're all about.
Yeah, love it.
And it's a lot of fun. So we
cool.
we love it, and it's something we feel
And
very passionate about.
self-led, what does that mean then?
So it's self-paced,
Yeah,
essentially.
self-paced,
So
sorry, yeah.
parents can work through it in their own time.
Right, so it's not like scheduled, you got to
No.
be here, you got to show up.
So it was to
Yeah,
suit
that's really
busy
good.
lifestyles, and
Yeah,
also
life is busy.
acknowledging that every child is on this journey on their own trajectory. It can take longer for some children than others. So they work through it at their own pace, and they've lifetime access to it, so they can always
I
go
love
back.
that. And how do I access that? How do I find that?
So it's online, and you'll be able to access that through either myself or Kirsty's website. So www.thesensorysubmarine.com.
Perfect. We'll put that attached to the podcast and stuff so people
Yeah.
can find it, because it is such a great program, and I know you guys have really worked very hard to make that really good. And it's not, when we talk about eating and we're looking at young people who have various challenges around that, whatever that might be, from sensory or whatever, it takes time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think that's the bit that's missing quite often.
It's the
Parents
hardest,
don't
isn't it?
realise. You want kind of that quick fix.
Of course you do.
You know, everybody wants that, but
Absolutely.
it doesn't happen quickly. And like, it's even just, you know, reassuring parents and saying, you know, celebrate the tiny things, the
Right.
wee small steps, and just keep going with it too.
Yeah, because I think I love that idea of like, if I'm a parent and carer accessing that, I can access it in my own time, because capacity is such a big thing. And like, say, for example, in a really busy season, I'm not going to have capacity for that. Or if my young person's transitioning schools, I'm really not thinking about their food or their eating. And then life calms down a little bit and I'm like, gosh, you haven't tried a new food in 6 months. How do I incorporate that? And I love that I can access that kind of at my own pace as well, to be able to. I think especially around some of the stuff around eating as well, it's so challenging for families for a wide variety of reasons. Listen, we could do like a 6-segment podcast on it. But if we were to summarize it, here's a task. 3 top tips to support. I know every family's different, but 3 top tips to support children around meal times.
Okay. Number 1 is look at the environment.
Okay.
So, and that's one that's often overlooked. So where is your child eating? Is it in the kitchen or the living room? And make it as sensory friendly as you can. So by that I mean reduce sensory overload. Turn the noise off, dim the lights, get rid of clutter, and look at what your child's sitting on. So like, they need to be on a chair where they feel supported. Their feet need to be on the ground. If they're not on the ground, they need to be on a box for postural stability.
Okay.
Because if you're not stable, it's very hard to use your hands to eat and to maintain attention. So that's number 1. That was kind of a long-winded.
No, really good, because I actually wouldn't have even have thought of that, to be honest. Because you do just kind of like throw your child down where they're eating.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you do, you're like, right, dinner time, here you go. And like, this is the chair we just have, so you sit on it.
Just sit on it.
Okay, yeah.
And a lot of dinner tables are high, so just
really high.
stick a box under their feet. Just make sure they're supported.
Just make sure their feet are on the ground, because then that is that all about like
core strength
to be able to then use.
Yeah.
That
and
is
that's
so
why
good.
kids are
Didn't think
getting
about
up and
that.
they're running away every 5 seconds because they're not stable, you know.
Okay, cool. So environment.
Environment's 1. Number 2 is play away from meal times. So food-based play. So that's where you're getting maybe your tough tray or a wee bacon tray with maybe like oats on it and a few wee Peppa Pigs, and letting your child scoop and pour and play with it naturally in their own way. And again, there's no expectation to eat the food that they're playing with.
Yeah.
It's pure trying to develop positive connections with food through play.
Love that. Yeah, great.
And what is my 3rd tip around it then is to always offer a preferred food. So that's a big one. So parents often hear of the term safe foods, preferred foods used interchangeably, but basically at meal times always put something on your plate that you know your child definitely will eat. Even if it's that they have the same food on their plate every day, that's okay. But slowly offer something new alongside
Really
that.
good. Society would probably tell you to do the opposite, wouldn't it? Like, just give them and then they don't have a choice.
And just
They have
make
to
them
eat
eat.
it, just make
Yeah.
them eat.
And that
you know, it doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, no, it literally doesn't. We've all tried it. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, so I think even just to hear that, like, even parents and carers, if you're listening, let that
sink in.
release, a little bit of like nearly guilt around that there's cocktail sausages, that's where we're at on the plate every single day because that's the preferred
Or
food.
chicken nuggets and chips.
Like whatever it is. Yeah.
And like even if you have to just put it on a side plate and it's not near their plate initially, that's okay. It's there, it's in their zone. They're visually tolerating it to begin with. So just start slowly.
Isn't it? Just start
slow.
Love that. It feels very hopeless sometimes, all of these situations. Say my young person struggles with gross or fine motor skills or food. What's something you can encourage families with who are maybe listening today on their journey around a lot of these topics?
Always look for the glimmers. So like it is really difficult, and a lot of the time these families are entrenched in it, and we have some wee ones that are very dysregulated and really, really struggling.
Yeah, lots of things going on.
But find the glimmer every day, you know, and sit and reflect on it. And like actually, like because I don't see children, I don't see them every day of the week. I might see them weekly or fortnightly. I notice the things more than the parents often do. Yeah, and I'm saying, wow, have you noticed that they're doing that? And they're like, oh yeah, they are doing that. Yeah, they started doing that a week ago. So it's like, you know, celebrate the small things and even reflect every day on it. You know, step back and think, what have they done today that we can celebrate? Moments. Yeah,
super. Yeah. I know we already did our little quick top tips there, but our closing game, Grace, is our quick equip. And it's rapid fire, supposedly, from me. Nothing really ever is. But one tool or resource that you love?
Peanut ball.
Peanut ball here. Great. I talk about that all the time. Yeah. Do you know what? So many people don't know what a peanut ball is.
I know. And
I find myself in training going like this, like trying to do the shape of a peanut ball. And then I'm like, people often get to it when they're like, oh, like in a maternity ward, isn't it?
Yeah. Like it's a birthing ball only shaped like a peanut.
There you go. That's the quickest way to say it.
The best thing for regulation in classroom and at home.
Okay, great. For your young person to sit on, to bounce on.
Sit on, to bounce on, roll on, to get peanut squishies to help them calm and regulate.
Lovely. They're not too expensive either.
About £13.
Yeah, I actually saw one in
Smiths,
like Smiths. Yeah,
$9.99.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that's our sponsored ad. No, I'm joking. No, it's not. Sadly not. A mindset that helps you.
A mindset that helps me is starting every day with something positive.
Yeah,
so
great.
You know,
those glimmers.
Yeah, again, I'm back to the glimmers, but I always write down something positive every day before I start. Again, it energizes you, and I think as parents and teachers and educators, it's really important as well.
Yeah, that mindset for sure. And one piece of advice you might share with another person.
For our kids, movement. So at home and at school, the kids aren't getting enough movement, and they need it for sensory regulation, for skill development, to get all that energy out and to help them feel calm and able to learn. Yeah.
Wrap them up, get them outside,
get them out.
Moving.
Get them out,
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it, for our young people? And I think you're right, it's something we're starting to lose a little bit. Yeah. And then we see that, we are like, our young person's doing X, Y, and Z, and you're like, let them spend it. If they haven't, we often say if you're not allowing them or giving them an opportunity to spend it, they'll find a way to spend it that you don't want them to. So it's giving that. I love that. Movement. Listen, so many amazing things in there, like really, really, really good stuff, Grace, and thank you so much for coming on and talking about that. I know so many of our listeners will really appreciate some of those really practical approaches as well, and hopefully it sparks new ideas or just even simply reminds people who are listening they're not alone in this journey. And they can reach out to yourself. And we talked about sensory eaters and Kirsty, she's on in a few episodes time, so lots of resources there for people to be able to access. Thanks so much for spending time with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
You're really welcome, and thanks for listening.